Gary, it's 2014 Henson, ready to hit it out of the park. Gary, Happy New Year to you.
And a Happy New Year to you and everybody on the call. I see people coming on the call right now and joining us. Drayton, Happy New Year to everybody, and I'm so excited about 2014. And it's not just the beautiful California weather we're having. I'm just excited about 2014 in general.
Yeah, I am as well, and I just have to say that the Denver Broncos are going to the Super Bowl, and all of you, just a little round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So the entire city of Denver and Colorado and the whole Rocky Mountain region, I think all of us have been levitating since Sunday. We're just so excited to be going back finally.
Yes,
so
sir.
Welcome, everyone. And Gary, I know you probably feel the same way as I do, and that is I missed the Crucible in December.
I did too. I did too, yeah.
We took a little bit of, took the month off because of the way the timing worked with everything. So thanks for all of you. It's been amazing, Gary, the number of people that have signed up for this webinar just in the last few days, and we're very grateful for that. And folks, you're in great company. We have hundreds upon hundreds of people that are part of the Crucible. We have great turnout for the live calls, and then so many people that listen to the calls afterwards too. So we're grateful for that. And I'm going to do an ask at the start of this, Gary, because we made a commitment to all of you in November when we discussed doing a case study. And we may lengthen this to be a series of case studies. And Gary, while I'm thinking about it too, can someone just raise his hand and make sure you can hear us both okay? So if you could just raise your hands on the console. Yeah, I have done calls that lasted for 30 minutes with no one but me on there. Okay, thank you. We're getting some hands raised, so we appreciate that. So Gary and I were spending some time before this call, and we were talking about what would be of greatest benefit to all of you, because that's why we're here. This is not a pitch fest. This is not about Gary and myself and feeding us. It's about feeding all of you, and literally and figuratively, I guess, right? Some
yes.
income stuff. So we want to be at the highest and best level of service that we can be. So one of the things we were talking about is to do a series of case studies. And by that we mean we will take a volunteer, and we're going to ask for 1 or 2 or 3 today that we can, if we don't get to you today, then for a future session, we will get a volunteer, and literally Gary and I will ask you questions about your business, and we'll give you the qualifiers on that. We'll ask you about your business, and then he and I will play consultants with you on how to grow your business. Now, we're just talking about some of our corporate clients and what we charge people, and this would be tens of thousands of dollars worth of consulting for you, and we want to do this for a few reasons. First and foremost, we want to help you grow your business, because the more you do, the more people you can serve. The more you earn, the more you can serve. And we want to do this for everyone listening, because they can project themselves into your scenario more than likely. They can get ideas that we come up with collectively. And the other big thing, Gary, is not just the two of us. It's tapping this collective wisdom, which I will certainly bow down to the collective wisdom any day of the week. And that's what we want to do, is have all of you come up with ideas as we go through this, because it will get your juices flowing as well. So Gary, do you want to talk about what we'd like to see in terms of a volunteer, just where they are in their business, and then we can go from there?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think we need somebody who has some experience in coaching clients, and let's call clients right now. And I would word it a little different than Drayton, I would say, we just want to give you feedback. We want to coach you. We want to work with you. We want to consult with you. See what we can do in 15, 20, 30 minutes to help you get on a really, really great track for 2014, and just go beyond where you think it was going to go, and combined experience between the two of us. What did we say? What does it say? We have 45 years of combined experience in working with coaches and wannabe coaches and students and graduates of our programs. So we're willing to give that to you, and we want to see it happen right now, live, today. Those are my thoughts, Mr. Boylston.
Yes, and Gary, I just, on my end, I got this, and we just got a comment too. You're cutting in and out a little bit, I guess, coming over the system, so you might just want to check what's open and closing things down just so we can come across loud and clear. That'd be great. Thank you, by the way, Luz, for telling us that. That's great. That's helpful. So the volunteer, as Gary said, we're looking for, if you've got a few paying clients, at least, that you've been in this business for a little bit of time, because we can help you springboard from that position in a very, very big way. So we need these volunteers, and if we get more than one or two, we'll certainly note that, and you might be someone we call on for a future session as well. So who would like to step up? We have dozens and dozens of people on the call. In fact, I think we just surpassed our biggest number so far, so thank you.
Oh, good start for the year.
Yeah, it's a great start for the year, so we're fired up. So who would like to step up and just give us, and we'll just go on a first name basis, and give us a snapshot of your business, and then Gary and I will step up and help you in any way that we can. So who would like to step up?
Do you want somebody to send you a little note there through the system and identify themselves?
Yeah, let's do that. If you would just send me a note, Gary and I a note in the system, if you just click and just write us a little note. We've gotten a lot of nice notes. We've got people from all over the world saying, hi, this is so cool. So just drop us a note. All the notes are private. They just come to Gary and myself. So just drop us a note. We're going to put you on, and again, first name basis, and have you talk a little bit about your business, and just take it from there. So again, who would like to step up? I know believe me, this will be a safe place. We're not going to grill you. We're here to be of service to all of you and help you in any way that we can, and to help you grow your business. And we know for so many people, Gary, that the whole revenue thing is a scary thing.
It's the biggest conversation I have with potential students for businesscoach.com. It's the biggest conversation I have. It's the most consistent one. It's the most frequent one. And that's not just last year or the year before, but it's been that way collectively.
Yeah, and we know it puts, you're here, you're called to coaching for a reason. You're called here because you want to be of service to people. You have that serving mindset. And we also know that you have to run a business. You have to earn money, and that's what we want to address head on, are the various ways to do that so you can grow your business, so you can serve more people. Denise, I see that you just popped up. Yes, we would love to have you volunteer. Let me get you off of mute here. We've got so many people, Gary. This is wonderful.
Oh yeah, they're adding people coming on as we speak.
So Denise, I'm going to take you off of mute here, and then we've got Tess after that. Tess, we will certainly see if we can get to you as well. Denise, I just sent you the audio pin. And let's see if we can get you off of mute there on your end. You just need to take yourself off mute, and we will be off to the races. And then Tess, we'll come to you after Denise if we have time today. If not, we will do it as soon as we can.
And Drayton, there may be some people out there that might have some questions. I don't know that we have time to handle them all today, but if sometimes I know you like looking at the screen there and seeing if there's something that gets you excited to talk about. So maybe some people can shoot you off if they don't want to be our lucky candidate. They could shoot you off a question or something about what we talk about, or maybe something that's a burning 2014 question.
Yep, that's great. Great ad. Yes, if you have any questions, go ahead and post those. We write down all of these for future dates. We've got notes upon notes from all the previous ones. And Denise, back to your question, try *6 and see if that'll get you off mute on your end, because you're off mute on our system side. So put that pin in and do *6 and see. If we can't get you off there, then let's see what we can do. Okay, so we've got.
If we can't, then we'll go by email.
We will send up the smoke signals.
Yes.
Okay, so Tess, we've got you. Tess, would you like to step up? Let's see if I can get a message from Tess. So we'll jump right in here. She's got some questions here. So Tess, can you just drop me a note? Would you like to get in the focus, under the spotlight?
In the limelight,
I'll take you off mute there, Tess. Yeah, we're going to put you in the limelight. Okay, Tess, you with us? Okay, she's putting her headset on, so here she comes. There we go. Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Tess. Thank you very much. So thanks for stepping up. So are you okay being in the limelight for a bit here?
Sure. Everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame.
Or infamy, as the case may be for Gary and myself. So Tess, give us a snapshot of where your business is right now and what would be helpful for us to know so we can provide some insight for you.
Sure. Well, I have a background in human resources and recruitment, and I've also been managing a content business specific to the corporate communications world for the last 8 years. And so what I'm trying to determine is what would be most lucrative and rewarding for me as far as coaching. I had thought about being a career coach, but I think that's a little limiting.
Okay, and do you have an established business right now, Tess?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and this is your business, it's not inside another organization?
No, it's my own business. I've been a solopreneur for about 8 years now.
Okay, okay. And who is your ideal client?
My ideal client would be somebody that's in their midlife that is looking for a career change, and instead of looking at a job, somebody looking at establishing their own career path based on their talents. Or maybe, starting a business.
That probably covers about, 100 million people right now?
I would think so, yeah.
And give us an idea, Tess, of your offering in terms of products and services. What do you offer?
Well, and this is where it gets a little confusing. In my main business, my bread and butter, I'm a content manager, specifically for corporate communications. And for coaching, I'm trying to coach people on how to recreate or reinvent themselves so that they can either start a business or, create a career for themselves, similar to what I did about 8 years ago.
Okay, and tell us about that experience a little bit, Tess.
Well, I basically started from scratch. I had no formal training, and I just basically learned how to get into content marketing and social media management. And so I basically walked away from a corporate HR career to launch, kind of relaunch myself.
Okay.
And I'd love to be able to teach other people how to do that.
Okay. and go back to your ideal client, because it was pretty broad.
Mm-hmm.
So now think about your experience, your journey, and close your eyes and think about who do you see. And you close your eyes and think about your absolutely ideal client. What's their age? What's their gender? What are their points of pain? Who do you
Mm-hmm.
see there?
Typically, I would be looking at people in their 30s to 60s, either disillusioned or displaced from a career path, and could be male or female.
Okay. I'm going to push you a little bit here. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So go more narrow
Mm-hmm.
and deeper for me. So
Okay.
ideal client based upon what you learned on your journey. Don't be afraid to be specific.
This is where I struggle, because I'm so used to serving such a diverse type of client in my
Mm-hmm.
main business that it's hard for me to put that hat on.
Gary, you want to weigh in here?
Yeah. Oh boy. My lip is raw on the bottom here from chewing on it. First of all, in Drayton, and I'm going to speak for Drayton. I never do that, but in Drayton and mine's experience, the people who are most successful in any coaching activity have picked a niche and exploited the niche until hell wouldn't have them. So I've told my famous story about the lady in Silicon Valley who's only going to coach female dentists that have a robust practice and are within a 30-mile radius of her office. And that's not a very big, that's a very narrow audience. And the reason why she selected the niche is because she knew it, she understand the heart of female dentists, and that they were looking for a voice, they were looking for support, they were looking for associations to belong to, and they were struggling because they didn't want to take advice specifically from men and didn't want to get the male point of view. So the first thing I see that you need to do is narrow that niche way down.
Okay.
And the other thing is that when I look at coaching, when I look at people creating a career, one of the things that people come to me and say, well, I have this idea, I'm going to coach this group of people over here, I'm going to approach that group of people over there. My question for them always is, how many clients do you need to have and continue to have in order to make a living? If your goal is to make X dollars, then you'd better figure out that niche that you're going after can afford you and can afford to pay the rates that you want to charge. And typically, Drayton and I coach people to look at somewhere between $400 and $600 an hour for face-to-face time when you're working with clients, and north of that, depending on the product or the service that they're offering. So there's a couple of things that I think you need to work out before we can really coach you. And I think this other niche that you talked about, managing corporate content, if you could put that in a bottle, it's like lightning in a bottle. I think there's an opportunity for you to become a coach or a consultant, and we don't have time to talk about the details of that, but I think there's a huge demand, I think, for that, and a huge need for that in the world today, and probably in the corporate world where they can really afford to pay you. Those are some thoughts that I have without knowing all of the details.
Thank you. I've been tossing that idea around, but I wasn't quite sure if that would be a good thing for me, but that's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And great,
actually,
great counsel. Go ahead.
And one more thing, Tess. As long as we've gone this far down the path, I would say, if you want to contact me directly, I have a selfish interest in wanting to know a little bit more about that corporate content. So if you want to just send an email to CoachGary@businesscoach.com, we can set up a phone appointment. And I'm kind of curious as to what that looks like in my own selfish interest. So this has nothing to do with building your practice, but we can talk about that. I'd like to find out more.
Great. I'll be happy to. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Tess, I'm going to echo what Gary said, and for all of you, I'm going to give you an exercise right now. Everyone, and we've got dozens upon dozens of people listening in, right now, do exactly what we're doing with Tess for yourself. So identify, close your eyes, and when you get to the point where you can see your ideal client, you're golden. When you can feel their points of pain, you are golden. When you realize how you can look back on your journey and take what, the gifts of knowledge that you have been given and use that in the work that you do, you are golden. The key is to focus, focus, focus on the people that you're here to serve. If you answer a question in a broad, there's 100 million people in your niche, we won't be talking, unfortunately, a year from now because you'll have to go find another job. And I'm sorry to be that blunt, but we've seen thousands of coaches over the years, and probably, Gary, the number one mistake is to not focus on your niche and spend the time. You don't have to be all things to all people. What happens with coaches is there's this scarcity thing. So they think if they go too narrow, they're going to eliminate all these other potential clients. And the reality is you won't get those potential clients until you do focus and go narrow and deep. So all of you right now, and feel free to drop a note to us here and let us know what your niche is, and think about that now. And in fact, I'm going to, Scott, I know we did not set this up in advance, but if you're in a place, I know one of the gentlemen on with us today, and Scott, I think they'd benefit greatly if you could talk to them about what you're focusing on and whys and how you came about that. Scott, I just took you off of mute, and hopefully you're not eating Chinese food or something at the moment.
Not to put you too much on the spot.
Yeah. Scott, you okay
multitasking today, Scott?
Yeah, I'm fine with sharing. I finished my tacos before the call. Today's Mexican Day.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, I was listening to you all and reliving my own experiences with the struggle of going really narrow and finding out the points of pain of my target audience. And I don't know which one comes first, because I kind of bounced between those in my search. I knew where points of pain were, but maybe there wasn't enough of an audience, and I thought I had a narrow audience until I spoke with Drayton and found out it wasn't really very narrow. And it's been a real refreshing approach to show up for my work every day, because now I know what my focus is, I know who I want to target, and I sit down confident and ready to reach out. And I don't feel like I need to go beyond that target market anymore. And before, I was kind of dabbling in many different areas and I wasn't getting anywhere. So these calls have been really good for me to reinforce that sentiment that I have a tendency to have shiny thing syndrome, so I have a tendency to wander a little bit. And these calls and other calls with fellow coaches really help keep me focused on my niche. And I think that's the most important thing I've learned in many, many years of being in coaching. My life's gotten a lot easier.
And Scott, do you want to share, and thank you, by the way, for doing this, certainly impromptu, but do you want to share about what you're focusing on and why, and how it just kind of came out of what you perceive to be left field?
Boy, I don't know if we have an hour to talk about that, but I'll boil it down. My focus in my coaching practice is working with business leaders on how to hire and retain the millennials in the workforce. And I stumbled upon it because of all the negativity that was in the press, and a Time magazine article comes to mind about millennials and what they are. And my work with that generation through my volunteer work, I see them completely differently. I see them as being very driven, and they want to succeed, but our organization, our culture has changed, and I think our organizations have not kept up with that culture change. And so I'm helping companies understand that and recraft their culture, and also helping millennials understand the culture they're getting into before they get there. And it's been a phenomenal ride.
And this is something that until you really focused and were pushed to focus, would you have ever gotten there?
Absolutely not. I'm a huge fan of coaching, obviously. I don't always use those skill sets for my own growth until the past year. And I needed to...
I'm going to stop you there for a second, okay, Scott?
Yes.
Because I think that's a great learning moment for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many of us, okay, let's just see a show of hands, how many of us have our own coach and find ourselves to be less than coachable at times? Just show you, and I'm raising my hand at the moment.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Half the people hung up from the call. A lot of people disconnected at that point. We lost half our audience.
Yeah. Well, just know that, and give yourself some love around this subject, because know that all of us go through it, and we're not 10 feet tall and bulletproof and perfect. We all have our own work to do. I work on my stuff every single day. I know Gary works on his stuff every single day, and that's what Scott's alluding to, is that I love that transparency, Scott. And all of us, we should be that way with our clients, too. Be transparent. Hey, I've got my stuff. I'm not 10 feet tall and bulletproof.
And it's not an easy transition for some people. I feel like I'm pretty transparent, but the more transparent I become and the more I focus on it, the more growth happens for me, and then there's more for me to give to my clients as well. So it really is an important step to discover.
You're a wise man, Scott. Coach Gary here. You got your thinking cap on, and you're going to continue to be successful as a coach, just based on the things that you've said there. But it's another golden moment. You know, being transparent with people, being honest and open, and being authentic with your clients and your peers and the people around you. It really draws people near to you, even though the fear we have is that, oh my gosh, what if I shed a tear? Oh my gosh, if I were to say the wrong thing. And it's something I've personally had a lot of struggle with in my life, and thank my wife every day for nagging me into understanding the value of being transparent and being authentic with people. So there's a lot of wisdom coming out of your mouth there, my friend. I'm grateful that you volunteered, so to speak, to be on the call here today.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's so true, Scott, and I think you're setting a great example for folks, and it's one, I love what you said about you're not worried about it being your niche being too narrow, and you go to the office fired up, knowing what you're focusing on, and speak to your level of productivity because of that. Have you been more productive and accomplished more once you figured out what your true niche was?
Well, there's two answers to that. Yes, absolutely. And then the second answer that comes up for me immediately is I'm flowing better. I'm doing more in less time. And rather than trying to find something, I know exactly what I need to do, and I just get down and I do it. And it's not a task anymore. It's actually coming from an authentic place, and it's something I want to do rather than spending my time searching for what I should be doing, and I'm using air quotes. So there's two things that happen there. I've gotten more free time, and I'm more productive.
And how do you sleep at night?
Better than a baby. Baby's not
like,
so yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's that sleep at night factor that I weigh so many decisions on. You know, can I sleep through the night having made this decision? Am I going to be at peace with this decision? And am I going to be in a place of inspired action when I make a decision like Scott's talking about, where I jump out of bed in the morning fired up to serve that niche that I'm focusing on? And I see these people when I close my eyes, and I relate so deeply to their points of pain that I just want to help them in every way possible.
Right.
Now, if you can answer the questions about what you're focusing on with that kind of commitment and passion and transparency, you're doing the right thing. If you can't, please go and do some work on this. Work with your coach. Find a buddy coach if you do something on a reciprocity basis, and put some time into this. It is truly the most important thing that you can do as a starting point going down this path. Scott, thank you. I will buy the tacos next time I see you then. Just feel like I owe you.
All right. Thanks to you and Gary for doing this. This is a wonderful service, and I've appreciated it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your kind words. We're very grateful to have guys like you, Scott. No doubt about it. So, Gary, we've got a number of other people here. We've probably got 4 or 5 other people that have stepped up. And I tell you what, you want to do one more, Gary?
Absolutely. What happened to our first gal there? Did we lose contact with Denise?
Yeah, some technical difficulties. Now, Denise, we will come back to you. You may want to hang up and call in or tap in via computer. Sometimes if you call in via phone, for whatever reason, the system won't let you chat. So we've sent the pin to you, but if you want to try another avenue, that'd be great, or just ring back in. Sometimes that frees it up as well. But we've got some other folks here. Susan. Let's see if we can get Susan on here. You know, at times I feel like a game show host was. Okay, Susan, I'm going to take you off of mute. Can you hear us, Susan?
I can.
Can we hear you? There
Wow.
you go. You wrote such a beautiful write-up here. I've just been trying to read it in between some of the comments. So why don't you, thank you very much. It's very comprehensive. Why don't you just give a thumbnail sketch to everybody, Susan, in terms of where you are and what you're doing and your point of focus.
Okay, I come from a 30-year corporate background, and the last 20 was spent at a Fortune 100 company. In my role, I had contact with every level of the company, every functional area, industry organizations, global committees, and what I came away with was the knowledge that I experienced and witnessed most, if not all, ways that people disconnect. And so what I've been away from that environment for about 5 years. I have been coaching for 3, and I've had individual clients, and I realized that I really would like to get back into corporations, and the clients that I want to target are middle management. And what I want to do is work with them to establish and cultivate really solid connections, good relationships with their teams and their colleagues, their alliance partners, such that they can create and promote an environment where people are creative, productive, take risks, that they essentially empower people. Their teams. The difficulty is most corporations will invest in coaching for their executives, but not for middle management. Mm-hmm. But I think there's such a huge impact that you can have at that level.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, that fills my heart. And being the recovering CEO that I am, which I'll be recovering the rest of my life from those experiences, I relate so deeply, Susan, to what you want to do, and I'm sure Gary will echo this as well. You hit the nail right on the head in terms of coaching in the corporate context has been reserved for the boardroom and the C-suite, and where it's needed, maybe even more, because the numbers are certainly bigger, is that 1, 2, 3 rungs down the ladder from there, where they have as much or more direct people responsibility as they do in the C-suite. Right, and they're closer to the feet on the ground. And and that's where my heart is too, Susan. And I know Gary's is. we have to find a way, and Gary, it's so funny you bring this up. Gary and I were just chatting about a big initiative we have in 2014, which we haven't introduced yet, but it's coming up, and it will bring coaching to greater numbers in different places in an organization.
Mm.
And that's what we're fired up about. So let's get to the nuts and bolts that would be helpful, Susan, for you and for others listening in. Tell us about your business currently and the transition you wish to make, and then let's go from there.
Well, you know, my business is not great right now. I've had individual clients of, you know, that have kind of been across the board. I've had some IT consultants, I've had public school teachers, I've had spiritual counselors. So it's kind of been all over. And none of it really excites me the way, you know, I do just thinking about what a difference I could make for my target client within a corporation, because I learned the hard way. You know, we learn a lot in school, we learn a lot in training, but we really don't learn how to lead people. And I learned the hard way when I was one of those type A driven personalities, and when I first started managing people, it was a disaster. My attitude was, do it my way and we'll have no problem. Of course, you know, that my team was miserable and I was miserable. And so over the years, I just kind of threw everything that everybody told me out the window, and I didn't even look at who was perceived to be a good manager. What I started doing was paying attention to how people made me feel, and so a lot of what I draw from are those experiences. For example, one of my greatest mentors was an executive at this company who I had a lot of contact with, and I screwed up his pet project. And this was when at that company, I spent roughly half my time in IT and half on the business side. I was asked to leave IT and develop a team on the business side. And it was for this VP, and I went to his office on a Friday afternoon to give him the bad news, and he says, "Oh, well, come in and tell me about it. Can't be that bad." So I did, and he was quiet for a long time, and finally he says, "You're right, that's really bad." And then he said, "Can you fix it?" I said, "Yeah, it'll take me a while, but I can do that." He says, "Okay." And that was the end of the story.
Love it.
And, you know, that taught me so much about how to deal with people on my team that made mistakes. And when I started implementing that, I would hear my people talking about me and how much they loved working for me. I even had the CEO of the company at one point come to me and say, "How do you get them to do that?" And what he was referring to is how my team, and when I left the company, I had a team of about 14, and it was comical. They would practically trip over themselves to tell me they screwed something up. and it was fabulous, you know, because nothing ever bit me in the butt. Nothing ever got swept under the rug. What we dealt with was a growing business critical operation. So when we had problems, everybody knew it. And so that was a tremendous asset to have a team that functioned that way. So,
well, Susan, I know Gary's he's probably going to jump through the phone in a second here. Gary, I know you want to speak to, because my heart's just expanded. I feel like the Grinch. It grew, 3 sizes. Listen to your voice, Susan, and the transition from describing your current clients to what you just described.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. I need to be back in that environment. Absolutely, I do. It
Okay.
mattered.
So
It mattered.
it mattered. So what's the path, Susan? How do you make that your reality?
Well, what I'm doing now is reaching out, and one of the things I'm looking at is a lot of the people a lot of the executives I knew when I was in that environment are no longer there. You know, not just at that company, but at other companies. So what I'm doing is reaching out to the ones that are available to me and looking for introductions. Who do they know that this is important to, that they might introduce me to? But I'm still, you know, when I have those conversations, I'm hitting that wall about executives versus middle management. And I'm not sure how to break through that.
You're
You know,
hitting the
even
wall
when
with
people, I'm sorry, even
You're
when people will say, yes, we see the value in that, but we just don't spend our money that way. Kind of doesn't make sense, but that's what I get.
Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, this the people that you reach out to and connect with, they're responding and saying that we get what you want to do, but we don't see the value in that. Is that what you just said?
Well, not that they don't. Well, they'll say
Not
yeah,
willing to
we
pay for
see
the
it.
value.
Yeah. Which, you know, there's got to be a way to work with that, I'm thinking.
Well,
and I just haven't figured it out yet.
Well, there's a couple things that were in Scott's playbook that I'd like to go back and revisit, that because he was so eloquent about the way and so natural, so transparent about the way he described his process. And you want to go after a market. You know, one of the things I like is going after markets that are hungry for my services.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to position yourself, and this may be a positioning conversation that maybe I'm not the best guy to have, but you want to position yourself in a way that people listen and they say, yeah, you know, that's Susan, I'm glad you brought that to our attention. We need to work on that. So it might be, first of all, what are you going to call yourself?
That's, you know, on my cards right now it says business relationship coach, and I'm thinking I need to change that, but I can't come up with something. I'm thinking maybe I'll just take it off altogether.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that I would recommend, and then I'll toss the hot potato back over to Drayton. First of all, I would suggest that maybe you refer to yourself as an executive coach, and then when you meet the decision makers, you tell them that you work with people between X and Y. This is the range that I work with, and I prefer to work with people, and here's the value I can bring. So you don't want to have this conversation by email or over the phone. You want to get in front of people and say, this is my specialty, and I wouldn't, whatever you just called yourself, I wouldn't call myself that. I would maybe maybe call myself an executive coach, and then work and let people know what your specialty is or specialties are. And then the other thing is that one of the best pieces of advice I could give you, and it's free advice in the truest sense of the word, there's an organization owned by two friends of mine, it's a husband and wife team, called Relationship Coaching Institute, RCI for short. And I don't know what's included, but I know they have a very robust package that you can get on their website for free. And it talks about who they are, what they do, and it talks about how to be a relationship coach. Now, typically when they do that, it's about relationships like male and female, or relationships that are that kind of relation. But I know they have all kinds of relationship coaches, and I'll bet there's tools that they have that maybe even for free would help you redefine yourself, and help support you in reaching a specific niche like the one you're talking about. So those are some thoughts that I have, and I know Drayton's got all kinds of ideas for you as well.
Okay, great.
Susan, may I play trusted advisor for a minute here?
Sure.
if I were going to give you counsel on this, I would say take a step back. And before you reach out and have those conversations, figure out what you are. And I would have one word echoing in my head, and that is provocative. If I had a second word, it would be math. And this applies to anyone that wants to work anywhere in any business. We, as the merchant servant souls that we are that are drawn to coaching, need to get incredibly comfortable with selling math.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Susan, people, and I'm speaking like a former CEO now, you come to me with the math around something, you will get my attention. You come to me with selling me soft skills stuff, you're not going to get an appointment right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunately the reality in business today. And we call ourselves the translators. We translate this woo-woo coaching stuff into business digestible things that businesses get. All of us need to do this. And I would say, Susan, given your background, given just what, the vibe I'm getting from you and the way you present yourself, you have an opportunity to be, and we've talked about this in previous calls, the thought leader. Figure out what that thought leadership is in specifically. So are you the lightning rod coach for middle managers? Are you the ROI specialist for organizations looking to maximize their middle management talent? Go read Top Grading by Bradford Smart and get all the math around turnover and what's happening with, Scott's niche and with the millennials, and they're going to be, by 2020, 40% of the workforce. How are they going to deal with these types of things? Figure out the points of pain that your clients have. Figure out what you're going to call yourself to address those points of pain, and stay incredibly hyper-focused on what would benefit them. Not what you're selling, what would benefit them. So if you can help them envision, they work with you 6 months a year, 18 months, how are their lives personally first and business-wise secondarily going to be different?
Okay, why personal first?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. They're making all their decisions, all their biases, everything come from a personal vantage point. They're looking at, when they make a decision to engage you, the first thing they're thinking about is themselves and the career and their career and how it may or may not enhance that.
Okay.
They're not thinking about the corporation first. We all make decisions based upon our personal biases and our journey first. 99% of the people will never admit that, but that's true. So yes, they're in a corporation, but they're thinking how doing anything, signing a check for coaching for middle managers, how is that impacting them first? And when you can convince them of the benefits of engaging you and making them look better because of that, you've hit a home run.
Okay.
It's
a good thing I have a lot of ROI experience.
There you go.
It makes absolute sense.
And Susan, I would add the word dysfunctional to part of your presentation. So what's in it for me if I'm an executive and I've got a middle manager who's managing people and he doesn't understand how to handle dysfunctional people or the things that show up dysfunctionally in the workplace, part of your presentation could say, and I help you take ordinary people and make them extraordinary. And I even work with dysfunctional situations where the manager doesn't know how to handle his employees and doesn't know how to deal with certain types of behavior. That's my specialty. And it's all about relationships. We get that. But you've got to position it. You've got to put it in language that meets what I refer to as America's #1 radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me?
You know what? And this is exactly what I've had trouble with. Exactly it. I know I can do the work. That confidence has always been there. And I have a question, because I don't think I said anything about turning around poor performers, but that's what I became known for. And you just, with the dysfunctional and making, even dysfunctional employees extraordinary was, just so much fun for me.
Sure, sure. And you have the intuition and the skill set and the HR background to deal with all of that. But most of us don't. Most of us don't have, we have one or two pieces to that, but we don't have all of that. You have it all. So when you get in front of the right people, they'll recognize that Susan is the answer to our prayers.
Okay, great. These are some great suggestions.
And
Yeah.
Susan,
thank you.
You're very welcome, and it's so cool to see, and I hope everybody's projecting themselves into this conversation as they listen. I want you to be provocative and speak to the math. So if the hunt for good people is going to get more and more important as we progress. The graying of America, the talent or the knowledge transition, all those things are paramount. But think of focus, but think of the ROI for that business and working with you. That, given your experience, is a massive point of differentiation for your business. So when you take inventory of your business and all this patchwork quilt of clients you've had heretofore, I didn't hear one that would be a good match for you given this. Is that true?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Okay. So we're not big fans of looking in the rearview mirror, but I would say you need to gain some clarity around why you let yourself attract those people and what you're avoiding in not going after this market.
Okay.
Amen.
Well, and I know what that is right now, and I'm ready to leave it behind. Well, because initially when I started, I wasn't confident. I wasn't, I felt very clumsy, and I thought,
as a coach.
Yeah. It's like I need to get
would you
my
repeat
confidence.
that just so everybody gets that, Susan? Just repeat that for everyone.
When I started coaching, I felt very clumsy with it. I was just not, it didn't feel, even though, I can sit here now and say, I've been coaching for many, many years. It's how, I was a coach manager. That's how I was effective with my team, but that wasn't in my mind. I was thinking coaching is a new thing. I'm very clumsy. I don't have the terminology. I don't have this and that. So the confidence wasn't there when I started.
Okay, full disclosure here, Susan, and thank you for the courage to say that. I flat out stunk as a coach when I started. I was terrible, because I was trying to be something that I wasn't. Instead of, like you, I was always a coach leader. That's just who I was from way back when. And I abandoned that for this thing that people were calling coaching. Took all this training and then tried to be something that I wasn't. And when I let go of that and just showed up who I was, looking to serve people, then everything started to make sense. So for those of you who are just starting out as a coach and you do feel clumsy, I felt completely stupid, like asking all these questions, and then I felt like I had to have an agenda for every meeting, and it was a nightmare. And thank goodness my clients hung with me while I learned how to do this. This is years and years ago. But know that you need to just practice your craft and let go of everything except for serving that person in front of you or on the phone. And it's not about us and bringing our stuff to the engagement. It's about serving that other person. And when we make that shift, that's when the magic happens. Right, Gary?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Susan, I'm going to play coach again for a second here, okay?
Okay.
So what are you going to do with all of this? Where do you go from here?
I'm going to sit down and work some numbers. I mean, I know the things, I know where I can be, where I can make a difference. And what I need to do is take a look at that and say, okay, what does this mean dollar-wise to the company? You know, how broad is that impact? Is it narrow? Is it broad? Where can I make the biggest difference? And put some numbers to it. And I think once I do that, I'm ready to go out and talk to people. Oh, and change my title.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Change
and make it
what
something
I call
provocative.
Yeah.
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 You know, the middle manager maniac, you know, just anything that's going to get their attention and just talk about the math on your website, in your conversations, your email correspondence.
Yeah.
Talk about the math. What's in it for them, as Gary said.
Yeah.
And Susan, will you do us a favor?
Sure.
I love when people respond sure when I haven't even asked that they asked.
Me too.
I know, you know. Well, there's always the understanding you may regret what you say, but you say it anyway.
Thank you. Bless you, my child. Post something. You know, we've got our recording page that everybody's looking at today. That's we keep it static up here usually. Go and post something and just make that group accountability for us, would you? Just what are you going to call yourself? What is your niche? What is your message? And we have found over the years that putting it out there and being accountable to a group like this has a lot of power to it.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
So do that and share it with people. And for all of you that are listening in, first of all, Susan, you're courageous. We appreciate you stepping up, and this is exactly what we're looking for in terms of helping you, all of you, work through things like this. So we've got 3 or 4, 4 or 5 more volunteers for coming sessions. Let Gary and I know if this works for you. Was this helpful? It seems like our retention rate, we've retained probably 98% of the people that started this call.
Cool.
So that's a great, you're a star, and so was Tess, and you guys were great. But was this helpful? If you want to see something else, that's why we're here. We're dealing with addressing your points of pain. We're here to be of service. We're trying to model what we're asking you to do with your clients. So let us know and drop us notes on the Coaching Crucible page, and let us, leave a comment. And, right here, just leave a comment right there. Just let us know what you're thinking and what questions you have. We got a number of great questions from people here. We had, some people over in the Middle East had to get off because it's midnight, and this is great. But, keep focusing on, think about the things that we talked about today. Think about how they can apply to your business, and take some action. Take some inspired action, and get yourself a coach. And work on these things that you need to work through, because we want to see you here this time next year just growing like gangbusters. So, Gary, how would you like to wrap it up on your end?
I would like to say 2 things to everybody. First of all, thank you, Susan, and thanks to everybody who hung in there throughout the entire call. I'd like to be vulnerable in a couple of minutes for those that would like to give us feedback. How did this work for you today? Did this follow the Coaching Crucible calls and webinars that we've done in the past, where it was a big help and we get lots of feedback, people like it? And hopefully for those of you that heard Drayton and I coaching these 2 ladies here today, you put your practice out there and said, am I doing these things? Can I take that same advice for my practice? Do I have the same areas that I need to focus on and improve on? So give us your feedback. Let us know what it is that does and doesn't work on these calls, so that we know how we're doing. Back to you, Drayton.
Yeah, we're getting some great feedback. Thank you, all of you. We're getting some very gracious, really nice words with a lot of caps and exclamation points, so that's great. And Sarah had a question. Can you please provide the name of the book that I mentioned? It's called Top Grading. Top Grading by Bradford Smart. Super smart guy, pardon the pun. and he's done a lot of work with very
Great book.
major corporations.
Great book.
Yeah, it's just a classic. In fact, GE models all of their HR grading work around his model, just to give you an idea. And then Denise, thank you. Yes, we'll try to get you on next time. Appreciate that. Here's someone who coaches the same area Susan does, and does ADHD and career coaching. Great. And then, yes, someone else had a copy of the book, what the name of the book was. So Top Grading is the name of the book by Bradford Smart. You can find it anywhere. It's a very long tome, but when you look at it, focus on the amount of money that turnover costs organizations. When you look at his data, and I believe it, and GE and others do, he comes up with if you're an executive and you lose a good executive, it's worth about 24 times that person's salary in terms of lost money to the organization. And most people before this book thought it was maybe 4, 5, 6 at the top end. Well, you read the data and his backup to all of this, and he asserts it's 24 times, and I believe it. Once you go through this, I think you will too. So Gary, I think we should sign off. Great. I wish everybody could see all these comments. There's just dozens upon dozens of comments and great things that all of you supplied today. So thank you so very much. We're indebted. We'll be posting the recording within 24 hours. It will be up. And feel free, if you're new to the Crucible, to go and check out some of the previous recordings. We've got a lot of them on this page, and they're just there for you to listen to and benefit from. So Gary, you want to say goodbye to all the folks?
Yeah, goodbye everybody. Thank you again. We're looking forward to the call next month. Bring your friends. Let people know. Send that information out to your database and let people know that this is a public service that Drayton and I love doing each and every month.
Yeah, and Gary, here's one that just warms the cockles of my heart, and I'm still trying to figure out what cockles are, but I'll read this. What a wonderful call, Drayton and Gary. I deeply appreciate it. You're providing wonderful guiding lights to all of us as we figure out our coaching vocations. Gary, that's exactly why we do this, isn't it?
It's exactly why we do it. It's perfect.
Yeah, love it. So thank you, all of you. And if we may be of service, please let us know. And we look forward to hearing your voices and getting your comments when we convene next month. So until then, everybody take good care.
Bye-bye, everybody.